So good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for the September Outreach Information Session. We're going to focus on resources and supporting activities that are available from New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets. This is the platform to learn more about the activities, resources, and opportunities related to New York State's agricultural industries and food systems. So thank you for just taking this time to learn more about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and hopefully these will help you in the long run when it comes to some of the decision making and helping you plan and getting what you really need out of New York State government when it comes to your agricultural community. With that said, we want to give people a few minutes to join us in the virtual world here, transitioning between one meeting to the next. To that end, we're just going to do a quick review of the agenda. Just a reminder, this meeting is being recorded. This will be available on the department's Diversity and Agriculture webpage at a later time. We are going to review Ag and Markets outreach strategies and activities so you have a better idea of how we work through and identify our priorities, have a point of focus, and what we're doing to follow those things up. Then we are going to talk about the different resources that are developed so the public can access things and just really kind of know what's going on. And we're going to round that out with just some good to know tips and actions, especially value to those people that are the advocates and allies for, our farm operators, community garden leaders, et cetera, when it comes to just navigating government and getting things done. So moving right along, so we're staying on schedule here, is I'm Damali Wynter, Assistant Commissioner with New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets. I'm here in part of the world of my portfolio that really focuses on outreach activities. And ideally, you are here with an interest of learning about some of the details of Department of Agriculture and Markets, its strategies for why it's doing things, the different activities that are involved, and an example of those activities, and really just learn about some of the resources that are available to people. We really reach out to individual stakeholders. We're reaching out to just organizations and really connecting to, really whomever can better inform what we're trying to do here with the Department of Agriculture and Markets to best advocate and serve the agricultural community. With that said, what I do, I cover a lot of grounds. I feel like the most important thing that I do is translation services on behalf and basically bridging the gap between public sector and private sector. And by that, my translation services is called Speaking Government. If you have ever been dealing with the government, something had to get processed, paperwork, what have you, and you found yourself, venting to someone in a kitchen on the phone, and you just could not believe it took 8 weeks to get something that you felt was, very simple, getting this done and getting this process. And it's just shocking to you. From the government point of view, we can't believe we got this done in 8 weeks, and we are excited. Not only did we get you a decision, we actually got something accomplished and off the list. It's bridging the gap of what's happening from the government side of things and your expectation of what should be happening and how long it should take. So part of this entire information session hopefully will help you better understand that. And then, what does that look like, hopefully to make things a little bit easier as you engage with government in the future. A lot of kind of my outreach work really works with youth. We are developing a whole leadership pipeline when it comes to youth in agriculture. We'll talk more about that, in addition to workforce development activities, resource development activities, as well as a lot of advocacy for underrepresented and underserved communities in agriculture. A lot of that would overlap with what people can traditionally think of like DEIA, diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. Before we really dig into a lot of the things that are happening with Department of Agriculture and Markets, just to kind of frame some background of this, Commissioner Richard Ball, who's the Commissioner of the Department of Agriculture and Markets, he's actually a grower. He's involved with a lot of work, as is the entire department, at a federal level, at an international level. We're informing lots of conversations. Internationally, New York State, we have a lot of land, and we have a great long-term prospect when it comes to our water supply, Erie Canal Way, the Great Lakes. And we're involved in conversations of like, what does that look like to protect our farmland? So, 20, 50, 100 years into the future, those still exist and supporting our food system. We have conversations on this end that we've informed the White House Counsel White House conference on hunger, nutrition, and health, and provided recommendations for them. We've informed things working with other agencies. There's a master plan for aging that we've been involved with. For those of you that might not be aware, in New York State, by 2030, it's believed that the average age of the citizenry, 25% of the citizenry will be over the age of 60. So we're having conversations now on what does that look like in that changing demographic, how to best serve them. And for Ag and Markets role, it's thinking of, yes, we want everyone to have fresh fruits and vegetables, but if we're dealing with an older population, what does it look like access-wise when it comes to, getting that bag of groceries that even might be delivered, but you're dealing with, 3 flights of stairs? Or what does it look like cutting up, those fresh carrots that you received if you have arthritis? So part of those conversations, know that agriculture really intersects with everything. We connect with our food system, which really is everywhere, and really just doing our best when it comes to engaging and informing a lot of decisions that affect everyone in their day-to-day lives. So digging into a little deeper as to what does that look like is the outreach, our strategy and activities. And for those of you that may have questions, know that if you'll bear with me, I am working between 2 different screens. So I will have some time, taking a little breather to check in on the chat to see if there are any questions there. So if you have any questions, put those on the chat and I will check in as best able. But yeah, I don't want you to think that this is just a one-way street for information. Now going into Department of Agriculture and Markets, our outreach strategy and activities. It really falls onto 3 main points of focus, and those are awareness, education, and inclusivity. And those are awareness of opportunities, education for understanding those opportunities, and inclusivity of engagement. So I'm just going to dig a little deeper into what does that mean. So awareness of opportunity is really split into two different groups. Those are people that are not involved in agriculture, just the general public. They don't really, think about that apple that they walk by at the grocery store with any significance. And you also have those that are already involved in agriculture, and what does that look like, and how can we better support them as they try to develop what they're doing. So first, when it comes to those that aren't really involved in agriculture, general public, first step is really just raising awareness of the significance and existence, appreciation of agriculture. A lot of that's done overlapping with work that's happening with workforce development. For those of you that are following along on your screen, you'll see like an image of a beautiful kind of hydroponic farm setup growing a lot of nice healthy veggies. I believe that's some basil in the corner. That said, when I talk to people who aren't involved in agriculture about, looking at careers and interest in agriculture, usually like, oh, I'm not a farmer, and I get some description of usually a pitchfork and what have you. So really it's getting people to think of new innovation approaches to agriculture that are happening all over the place. It's having people think of, all the different careers that are involved in agriculture to get that, that farm to table. Where were those eggs that you're enjoying at brunch? Where were they at 2:00 in the morning? And what's the kind of story behind them? When we're talking about the apple in that grocery store, that bodega, that farmer's market, it's having people think of, that apple. Was it from an orchard from New York State? Was it from Washington State? How was it picked? Was it picked by, some type of robotic device? Was it picked by hand? It was placed in a box so it didn't get damaged. Who designed that box? There was some appreciation for agriculture and needs to make that happen. Now we have some of our items that are going through X-ray processes to make sure the internal quality represents the same as the external quality. Someone is determining the best time to pick those fruits and vegetables and what have you, so that when they go through the whole logistics of the delivery system and they arrive for that beautiful display, that they are presented as best able for as long able when it comes to pricing. You have people that are just focused on engineering, and they're developing new types of apple seeds. I'm just talking about an apple. Now when you start thinking of the larger your produce department, when you're thinking of your entire grocery store, there are all kinds of opportunities in agriculture that people don't really think about. So that's part of our conversations that we have with people that aren't really into agriculture, but know that agriculture still impacts you. And next we have, for those that are already in agriculture, really our strength as a department, well, at least more in an immediate effect, is providing resources and supporting your network and letting people know that there are a lot of things available that people might not recognize or might just not have it on the radar. People are very busy, understandably so, at the same time doing what we can to say, here, there is some funding available through this different program at a federal level. There is some training available. There are these different connections that are available, and by that, I cannot stress enough the power of your network when it comes to seeing like different opportunities and having someone to connect with about things. Sometimes it's just a matter of, from the New York State Department of Agriculture's vantage point, we can see that person that has, a nonprofit in Buffalo and someone who might be doing something not the same, but something similar in New York City, and someone in the same position in the North Country, and saying, you guys should talk to each other. Even if it's not the same thing, just a little thought partner to share ideas, even if it comes to like you're a leader and having someone to have that connection with that can better appreciate what you're going through if you're frustrated, is highly valuable. So I highly encourage people to connect with the department to access where those opportunities might lie that they weren't even thinking about. Next, we have this education for understanding. This really goes back into some of those translation services of really just getting involved with government. And for our image with that, we have this lovely image in the top right corner, and getting people to see, yes, people know about seeds. Yes, people know about Cheerios. This is just a very simple image of people connecting the dots between those seeds, grew into plants, and they were processed to become Cheerios. And not everyone just naturally makes those connections. And what does that look like? Similar to when we're looking at the grains and we have a tasty cake. Looking at that and just giving an example of applying to, yes, about like the seeds, and that's connected to Cheerios. When you're looking at programming and engaging with government, an example that I have is we had another information session focused on, emergency management practices and guidance, and, flooding, frost, tornadoes, that, snow has collapsed the barn roof. What does that look like, and next steps? And well, in the past, we have people who, come to the department and are frustrated and concerned. You're in a state of, trauma as you're dealing with extreme damage, and a frustration, the fact that we might be asking you to complete some paperwork. Connecting the dots for understanding that paperwork is going to be connected and be part of a larger assessment of where is there damage, how much damage, and that feeds into conversations of where can we release, where's federal funding going to be released, because that's documented. So yes, you can decline, like, here, that is not a priority. I am not going to do this paperwork, but on our end, we want to make sure that you're aware of the process, and we want you to understand that if you're declining engagement, that is not necessarily going to help in the long run when it comes to funding, because you're not on that record of like, here, we know that there's significant damage over here. We're looking collectively of how much of that exists. So we really want people to not only just be aware, but understand the decisions connected to, engaging or not engaging with different activities. And last but not least, we have inclusivity of engagement. And again, as you look at our lovely image of the pride and the heart for I Love New York and LGBTQ, which had a presence at our New York State Fair, and there's a lot of work being done throughout the state. We really want to focus on just strategic outreach beyond already known stakeholders. We want to expand the knowledge, the people that are in the conversation, the perspectives, the cultural significance of a lot of activities that are happening in agriculture within New York State. And a big part of that is really just knowing people and having people connect with us and informing our decision making. So part of what we're doing is, when it comes to developing, opportunities for proposals to be submitted, or working groups or application opportunities, if we're reaching out to contact and we're looking for, to inform that, we want your ideas. And those things are not taken lightly. We know it takes you time. It takes time on our end. And frankly, for that investment, yes, we want to consider it. There's no guarantee that we will use every idea, but we really want to have an informed process, especially if we're trying to change something that's an established process within the government. Also, part of that inclusivity in stakeholder input is really when it comes to kind of outreach planning, letting people know what's going on. When we're developing stakeholder groups, there are all kinds of topic-focused things for climate, industry, specifically veggie growers, community gardens. Even if it's not something here, I don't know everything about climate, but you do know your community, you can engage with that group if there's an empty seat, inform that conversation, and learn more about how climate overlaps with your community. So it's really trying to pull people into that, really trying to get people to see that if there's an opportunity for us to reach out, please let us know what's going on. We'd love to engage as best able. And with that, I'm just going to take a quick moment, check the chat, see if there are any questions, anything raised. All right. I don't see anything just yet, so we're going to resume this and just go through just a few more examples of what's happening with our activities, and just, again, better understanding what I'm talking about with, workforce development and what's happening in agriculture. So with that in mind, specifically with workforce development, again, those of you that are following along and can see your screens, these are just some examples of some of the workforce development activity happening around the state. We have our milk bar, which is at the New York State Fair. At one point, it really was just seen as like, here, New York State, top 5 in the nation when it comes to milk production. We were very proud of that, very competitive with it as well. We regularly have a milk bar. You can get chocolate milk. You can get regular milk for 25 cents. It's served by usually a lot of young people. That said, we have a great partner, also involved with 4-H and Cornell Cooperative Extension, who has been operating it and turned this into an entire training program for youth. So for a couple weeks, in addition to working the New York State Fair and providing the milk, you have character and workforce development training that involves, like, what does that customer service look like? What does it call when it comes to your money management after you're getting paid? What does it come to, like, your time management and things like that? Really looking into, like, the life skills that they can carry on beyond the days of the state fair. So very, very appreciative of the development of that into an entire program that's really focused on the local youth in the Syracuse area. In addition to that, workforce development, looking into agriculture in New York State. In your lower right corner, you see like a yellow, kind of like a robot in the corner there. That is actually a robot. It's an engineered device designed to really just it's piloted to assess a field. It is looking for, I believe, either pest control, invasive species, or disease. And the person who designed it, they never saw themselves with a career in agriculture, but they do love robots. They love engineering things. And now they saw that intersection that they can apply this. And now they're working in the field of, like, here, I don't know everything about agriculture, but I know I can apply my skill set to this. And for our middle image, you see 3 individuals in the back of a truck, and you are curious as to what is happening. That is an example of another program that's being piloted when it comes to virtual training. The individual in the shirt with the headpiece on is actually doing a demonstration of trying to, I want to say, tree trimming, tree maintenance. And what does that look like in the early stages? Maybe you're not around or able to go on site all the time with this. So this could be a training opportunity for people before they can get actually kind of live activity. The person who developed this, yes, they know all about kind of like tech things. They know about kind of the security that's involved to make this happen. This is appreciated as it intersects with agriculture and helps with training and long-term activities. There are all kinds of incubators, training opportunities across New York State for our community gardens, new and beginning farmers, for people that are in agriculture and educators. There's a lot of opportunities there. Please do not limit yourself. You're like, oh, this doesn't directly connect. If it indirectly connects, there's absolutely some type of support likely available in New York State to help you support that with agriculture. And continuing, when it comes to youth leadership in agriculture, as previously mentioned, I work with just youth engagement, raising that leadership pipeline. For those of you that might not be aware, the 2022 Census of Agriculture has been released this year, and the average age of a grower is 58 and rising, as it has been for the past couple decades. So what does that look like across the country and across the state? We really want to engage our young people when it comes to careers in agriculture, in addition to, career changers and what have you. So one of those things that New York State is doing is bringing together some collaborative conversations with these three national groups: minorities in agriculture, natural resources, and related sciences, regularly referred to as MANNERS. There's FFA, formerly referred to as Future Farmers of America, and 4-H, which our Governor Kathy Hochul had her first public speaking engagement as a 4-H member at her local county fair. These three groups, regular conversations hosted by Department of Agriculture and Markets of where's their opportunity to work collaboratively. They are not working competitively. Yes, they all work with youth, but they all serve a very distinct need with that. And this is an example of MANNERS and 4-H coming together at our New York State Fair, really to engage youth and seeing where there are opportunities for future conversations. This also came into play as know that New York State is hosting its first Youth Agriculture Leadership Conference this November, which will also have these three groups coming together, in addition connecting with policymakers. And we've also supported youth in agriculture when it comes to, again, Ag Career Day. The State Fair is a big deal in bringing lots of people together, but also the program, Ag in the Classroom, which is very big for those educators amongst you. That here, I am not ready to commit, an agriculture curriculum. You don't have to. There's a whole support system. Say you're a writing teacher and want to incorporate a little bit of agriculture appreciation. There are curriculum inputs. There's all types of support through a program called Ag in the Classroom to help you do that. So I encourage you to look up these items or reach out to that email address, again, outreach@agriculture.ny.gov, to learn a little bit more about different supports that can help you when it comes to youth leadership, and just how you can help support the youth in New York State when it comes to this. And last but not least for this is we're going to talk a little bit more about inclusivity. This is kind of split into two parts. We have more of a public-facing kind of things with our activities, and then kind of behind-the-scenes, unseen activities. So one of the more public-facing things when it comes to inclusivity, again, we're at the New York State Fair. Our big thing is we have cultural villages. We have the Van Robinson Pan-African Village. We have the Indian Village, which is actually from on land that oral history has it consecrated by President Roosevelt. Our newest villages, we have Latino Village and the Asian Village. Both of these do a great job when it comes to connecting and highlighting the presence of underrepresented groups within New York State agriculture at the fair. And also, if you look at several of the other fair days here, we have Pride Day. We're highlighting New Americans. We're highlighting women. We're highlighting our armed forces. And there is a significant overlap between communities of military service members and agriculture. And that's an opportunity with workforce development as well. So we're looking into all of these opportunities for connection. So when you're looking at the fair, this is kind of like the public facing, again, that awareness and that education. If you're interested in learning more about the cultural villages at the New York State Fair, there's an information session recording already on the website, and you can just look at that separately. Digging in a little deeper about the unseen, behind-the-scene activities, we as Departments of Agriculture and Markets, we are involved with a good amount of kind of collective meetings with leadership representing and advocating on behalf of underrepresented communities in agriculture. We are working and very thoughtful when it comes to increasing the diversity in working groups and connecting people and saying, like, here, this is an opportunity to engage, like what we need to do to make that happen. When it comes to reassessing our evaluation processes, are there like unintended barriers that are being created to get people to engage and submitting proposals for different opportunities? So we've reassessed our kind of internal processes with that. When it comes to distribution and raising awareness of opportunities, so if there's a request for proposal that goes out there, what does that distribution list look like? Are we going to the same players all the time, or are we reaching out to new people to engage? So those are some of the behind-the-scenes things that we're doing to kind of just increase the perspectives that have the opportunity to engage, raising that education level of knowing, like, here, what does this mean? Is there opportunity in the future? And starting those conversations. And that is really important to us, just being very thoughtful of we want to increase the diversity of ideas. New York State is a large state with a lot of opportunity and cultural significance in agriculture. With that, I'm going to check again just the chat, see if anyone put any questions in there. Okay, and moving right along. When it comes to our resources, so we've talked about like our main strategy, which is that awareness, that education, and that inclusivity. We talked about some of the activities of what we're doing. Now these are the resources of how actually the public can engage, learn things, tap into like a lot of the efforts of communication on our part. The first being our open office hours. These happen monthly. The purpose of these is basically to just add some more direct context to a lot of kind of newsletter information that is flying around. Some of those are our personal newsletters, some of it's just general information to have that on the radar. We also have information sessions, of which you are attending one right now. Those are more topic focused. Specifically, we have some examples of those. Again, we just talked about emergency management. We have one that focuses on just the fundamentals of grant making. We have one that focuses on climate and what the different approaches, again, that's rather significant when it comes to agriculture in the growing community and what we can do. And a popular one is just understanding New York State government and some need to know information that could make your life a little easier. We also have newsletters, of which there are two examples up on your screen right now. The monthly harvest is just a general newsletter provided by the New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets. It lets you know just activities that are happening in New York State connected to ag and markets. I encourage you to sign up for this one. Also encourage you, the Ag and Markets Outreach Resource, also known as Information and Opportunities, is a newsletter really designed to support kind of like underrepresented communities, that news that flies under the radar. So when it comes to USDA's, United States Department of Agriculture's Equity Commission, and kind of like they have a report and the recommendations have come out, that would be news that would be an outreach resource that might fly under the radar when it comes to all of the news that's available out there. Our next two are highlighted for a reason. Those are the outreach at agriculture.ny.gov. That is just the default email address. If for some reason you or someone you know wants to do something connected with agriculture, you have a question, you're trying to connect like here. I've heard about this working group. Is there a way I can get involved, or when's the next meeting? And you do not know who to reach on this end, that is your default email address to contact. I cannot stress enough, since that email address is the default email address, that has taken questions, responses from across the state, and actually some international questions as well. So that is the email address that you should allow plenty of time when it comes to getting a response. No, best efforts are always being made to provide a timely response. But yes, that's something to keep in mind there. If you were, looking for a question related to submitting a proposal, I encourage you to use the contact information in that, request for proposals. Next, we have the agriculture.ny.gov email address, which we're going to go through some of the key things in there. It is very thorough when it comes to covering a lot of the information available through New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets. They especially love the fact that we do make best efforts. If you know what your topic of focus is, and you dig deep into that dig deep into that webpage, toward the bottom there will always be a contact for you to reach out specifically on a specific topic. Again, outreach, always welcome those questions, but no, you do have a means of contacting directly if you go through the website and focus on your topic. And next is the Diversity in Agriculture webpage. Also, you can find that through the agriculture.ny.gov website. That's really designed, again, it brings together all kinds of information into one place. One of the, again, speaking government struggles is on the government side of things. If we're using the word procurement and you on the outside are Googling contract, you may never find that specific page that you're looking for. So the Diversity in Agriculture page is really designed to bring as much of that information together in one place as possible to facilitate easier searching. And with that, I'm just going to walk you through a little bit of those web pages, and no questions, so we're good there. So we aren't going to go through every single line. This is just to give you an idea of encouragement to please look through these web pages yourself. But some of the things to keep in mind: farming, all of these little links at the top, Beginning Farmers. There is a webpage specifically committed to anything that we can find resource-wise when it comes to beginning farmers. You're new to it altogether. You are less than probably like 5 years into farming and you want to develop and take your farm to the next step. There is a webpage just for you on that. And moving along, we have farmers markets. So an example for here, going to our general farmers market page, you want to find a market. Is there one near you? If I'm looking for, I can look at from my perspective, am I a farmer? Am I a market operator? Am I a shopper? So I'm a shopper. I want to know what information is available at farmers markets. They've done their best when it comes to here are the different programs when you're purchasing through a farmer's market. All right, here's the access fees. We have these in as many languages as available. We tell you how the program works. And we're not going to go through all of this, but scrolling down, if you notice, again, multiple languages, there's that contact number. All right, you have a direct number, you have an email, you have a way to reach out if you have additional questions after going through this webpage just for consumers interested in farmers markets. Moving right along, I'm going to move around a bit here, but another big point of interest, because everyone's always looking into funding, if you look under business development, funding opportunities, and scrolling down a little, you learn a little bit about like systems, all things we do with government. You can also search. You can search past opportunities. You can search current opportunities. What is live now? Just keep this as a bookmark, checking in of like, here, is there an RFP that was released, and again, request for proposal, that was released that I'm interested in possibly submitting something to. And if you look in that RFP, there will always be a contact point of contact for you to reach out to if you have questions. I encourage you to always look at those as soon as possible because there are usually deadlines attached to when you can reach out to someone when it's connected to an open RFP. And by open, I mean it's live and accepting proposals. And we're going to just go through a few more of these. Our animal industry, again, trying to be as informed as possible. We cover information if you are a pet owner versus if you're an actual veterinarian. We cover all types of different animals. Pretty much anything we can do on our end to have this as informative as possible to give you the information that you need. So I'm going to go into few more here, and another popular one that pops up is food safety, especially people that want to start like just a new business. What does that look like? What are needs? If it's a new kind of growing business, what does that look like? So here we're looking at the GAP program, good agricultural practices, really working to promote that. That can also expand your offerings as a grower into what you can tap into since you're available, since you're verified and available to new networks of distributors to sell. Again, all of this information is available. You scroll toward the bottom and I'm going to bet, yes, and there is contact us by phone, so you can talk to a person, or contact us by email. You always have that means to have like a direct connection. But again, that outreach email address is absolutely open to you, but just want to make sure if you can get a faster response with a focused topic, I encourage you to do so. And last but not least here, we are going into just about us. This is when it comes to our mission, when it comes to, that's our Commissioner Richard Ball. Something else to look into. Under our About Us section, there is a whole list of different types of reports, key information that is shared over the years. You can search things through different reports. So I happen to know there's a Council for Hunger and Food Policy meeting next week. I want to learn a little more about them. So if you're watching, you're seeing me type in hunger, and there we go. We have the 2023 Council on Hunger and Food Policy, it's 2023 report. So again, in the world of education, so now you're aware that the support exists. Like, what good is this report to you? It's 2023, we're in 2024. I would say this is useful, not only just knowing that this council exists, but also the fact that you can look through the support and this will identify what are the different programs, how does it work. It also includes the different memberships, so you can know who are currently a part of these conversations. The Council for Hunger and Food Policy, for those that are not aware, this brings together stakeholders between government, nonprofits, you have farm operators, you have food banks, you have food pantries, you have nutritionists, pretty much everyone really connected, directly connected or indirectly connected with our food system and how things are processed. We're trying to have some type of representation for these conversations that are, developing recommendations and trying to inform a lot of other conversations. So you can attend these public meetings and just at least listen in and learn what these conversations are about. And that can be your point of engagement. I would also say it's one of those where I think they must have a meeting coming up. You can Google, now that you have a little bit of that speaking government, Council for Hunger and Food Policy, meeting 2024, and get that information. So I encourage you to look into opportunities like that. And we're going to move right along here. When it comes to the Diversity in Agriculture webpage, again, not going through every little thing, but some stuff to keep in mind. You just scroll down, you see all those seeds, that wheat, things to keep in mind when it comes to looking at the Diversity in Agriculture webpage. There's a lot of information here. Big things to know are we have key dates and deadlines. This is just a running list document, updated at least twice a month as best able, of different type of opportunities. It could be career, as you see off to the side. It can be a virtual in-person event. It can be a funding opportunity with a link so you can engage and learn more about it. This is a work in progress, but right now our priority is to get the information out to you that these opportunities exist. I encourage you to keep coming back to the web page to see if this is updated, if there's anything of interest to you. Next, we also have registration links. So you can always connect with the virtual open office hours. You know when the next ones are. You can schedule accordingly. We also have information sessions. Obviously, we have this one that's happening right now. Next month, we have What is FarmNet? A lot of resources are available, usually at no or very low cost to the farming community. So I encourage you to attend that and engage. So yes, you can absolutely register at those things directly here. And also bringing it to your attention are resources and funding opportunities. So this list right here, because everyone's always interested in funding, is this full list of different organizations, and this list is growing, of different organizations that are providing support at specific intersections with agriculture and overlapping with New York State. So we have BIPOC community, Black, Indigenous, people of color. We have New Americans. We have women. We have veterans, youth, et cetera, et cetera. I share this because it is important to know we as government, we do not know everything, but we try our best to provide some type of support. So if you have a group that is very laser focused on a specific community, they will likely make a point to know, is there a new grant opportunity? Is there a new funding being developed or under discussion, things like that. So we encourage you to connect directly with those individuals and ideally share that information with us. So now we have it on the radar. And I also add that these top three, because everyone is always interested in the funding, are really funding focused. We have federal grants. This is grants.gov. The U.S. federal government, their default place for grant opportunities will find its way here. We as New York State government do have no control over this, just letting you know that there is that search engine for federal level grants. There's also New York State Contract Reporter for New York State's contracting opportunities. Those requests for proposals come through here. I believe anything that is over $50,000 requiring approval by the United States, the New York State Comptroller is required to be posted on the Contract Reporter. Sign up, you can put in a kind of like a search or a notification. It can go right to your email address. And last but not least, going back to that funding opportunities for the department, as mentioned before, you can always just do a quick search of, is there anything new that I might have missed, anything that should be on my radar, and just keeping abreast. You now know where to go to get that information. I'm just going to scroll up a little bit. Something I didn't highlight too much was the Information and Opportunities newsletter, that Ag and Markets resource letter. You will always be able to find the last 3 months of that newsletter. You can sign up to receive them directly. Do a quick click of the link, and now you can see. You can always access this information. There will always be here's just some need-to-know news from the governor. This is some stuff that information that is actionable, and always an opportunity to directly sign up, get more of that information yourself. And last but not least, something to put on your radar is going to be reports and helpful guides. And this is just a series of just a lot of information that is available, some of it from the department, some from different partners that we work with. For example, we have Cornell Small Farms has multiple farm applications. They do great work, especially through their Futuro and Ag program when it comes to Spanish First written materials. But highly encourage just kind of going through and seeing what's available. Again, we're not going to go through everything, but just putting this on the radar of a starting place when it comes to some of that Census of Agriculture data as it is released and available from the Census of Agriculture. We have the 2022 race, ethnicity, and gender profiles. These are provided again by Department of Data Census through USDA. They break down specifically with New York State into racial demographic, gender demographic. What does our state look like? How has it grown since 2017, the previous census, which is also on here as well. So there is a lot of information. And as always, there's that contact us at the bottom of the page. If you're like, here, this is great, I have some additional questions, always look at that bottom of the page for additional information first. I do a quick check of the chat, see if there are any queries, and we're good there. And we're just going to keep moving forward. Back to our slideshow for a second. And we're just going to wrap this up with some quick tips, things to have on your radar, especially useful for those that are, allies, advocating, pretty much anyone trying to get things done. And these can be useful things in your efforts. One is just seeking opportunities. That opportunity mindset is don't wait for here. I'm looking for something that specifically says farmer. I'm looking for something that specifically says agriculture. I cannot stress enough. Do not wait for that specific name to be called. Look in the world of opportunities of like, here, I think that I could be eligible for this, and then pursuing that. My basic example is Empire State Development has a whole bunch of funding that is being processed through its SSBCI, which is New York State Small Business Credit Initiative. They have micro loans, they have large multi-million-dollar loans. They have so many that they literally have a search engine so you can work through and filter out which might be the best opportunity for you. So highly encourage you think in a positive mindset of like, here, what could be eligible? Yes, I'm a farm. I'm also a small business. And there's a lot of support out there for small business. And there's a lot of work being done when it comes to here, what are we doing when it comes to underrepresented and underserved communities, supporting them with business efforts as well. Second is a lot of just getting involved. I say that especially, I basically say in short, participate when things are boring. And by boring, I mean, it's just kind of slow, like here, nothing too dramatic is happening during a meeting. The opposite of that would be a lot of things were happening on the world stage between, the avian flu activities in Europe, and now our eggs are $8 a dozen. That's an exciting stage. People are all busy. You want to be around just to engage of like, here, I know that this working group exists. I'd like to get involved more. I would like to attend some meetings. Is there any issue with that? And just being around at that time. So now your name is on the radar. And so when we're looking at, new seats when it comes to working groups and task force and advisories, we have someone who's already familiar with speaking just a little bit of government and knows how our processes work, and they've already expressed that they're interested in this. A great example of this is Commissioner Richard Ball and his pathway into his role. He is a farmer first. He has a whole farm operation that is currently active right now. His pathway into becoming commissioner, he got involved with, those work groups and task forces and what have you, because he wanted to, raising concerns and informing decision-making that was happening. And he got involved with a few more. And at some point along the line, he wound up on, a short list. We're looking for a commissioner for the Department of Agriculture and Markets. And they reached out to him. And he said no, because he was content as a farm operator, but at the same time, he could appreciate his opportunity to do a lot of good for a lot of people in this role, and eventually said yes, which we are most appreciative of. So that is kind of like being around when it's slow. You just want to inform the process. That is highly valuable and highly encouraged. There are also 2 links here. In addition to having this recording available online, eventually these slides will be available online. So I put on here links to the New York State Fellowship programs and links for New York State, working for New York State with, which is through New York State Civil Service. And just when it comes to learning to speak a little government, the fellowship programs are 2 years. Working for New York State, just keeping an eye and checking the list every once in a while pretty regularly, because some of those opportunities to apply for things are 10 days. So you really need to check it with some regularity if you're really interested in the career with New York State. That is me raising awareness of opportunities to engage and look for careers with New York State. When it comes to better understanding the impact of that, because I have people, and I've shared it before, and they're like, oh, no, I'm not really a government person. This is not for me. I cannot stress enough. If you have ever been frustrated with the government for whatever reason, it's because we don't have enough people that really don't think of that government mindset on this side to engage in those conversations and be those decision makers and say, like, here, maybe there's another way to do this. And at minimum, especially if you do one of the, the temporary, the 2-year fellowships, or we have internships available, again, if you click the link, you're learning to speak a little bit government, and you're taking that information back to when you go to, that nonprofit organization or the private sector. And that is just as valuable for their planning purposes. So they don't make large strategic plans like, oh, we're just going to partner with the government. And you can be that person who's like, I work for the government. Process-wise, that's not going to work. And being able to clearly convey what the issue is. So speaking government, highly valued. Better understanding is like, here, this is not for me. Just want you to know we are hiring, and we are hiring the next generation of people that are developing those workforce, the task force, those strategies, those long-term plans, informing when it comes to resource development and contracts, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not just I don't want this career in government. Know that this is the next generation of people that is doing that decision making. So it's a big deal as we decline. So if not for you, I encourage you to share this with other people. Next, when it comes to just being informed, just learn. I encourage people to engage outside of their standard networks. People, for obvious reasons, everyone's really busy, and you usually end up, especially with different groups who are talking about the same thing, and you're really having a lot of the same conversations and supporting each other, which is great. At the same time, I strongly encourage you to connect with people outside of your network. Maybe those people doing something related to your work. So if you're into, you're a grower or a community gardener, maybe connecting with someone that might do a little processing or packaging. Something tangential, and expand your network that way. Also, again, I provide these clips, just kind of like these links, just kind of as a reference. One of these items is the morning ag clip. Very useful, just kind of a news source. You can get it delivered right to your inbox. It provides a good amount of information. Just in general, it can provide it regionally based, so something to sign up just to know what is going on. Excuse me. There we go. Next is New York State's Division of Budget. There's a whole citizen's guide. Again, one of those things, if only you knew what exactly to put into Google to search for this. But this Division of Budget has developed this great citizen guide to help you better prepare, especially for those that work on navigating, if you're familiar with the legislative session and preparing for that. This lovely image that I'm circling right now kind of breaks down the timing of the full year. When you're talking about here, I want to really connect with my legislator and have them advocate for a specific program or specific funding, is the best time to do that during the exciting time of legislative session, which happens between January and June, or during kind of like the slower period where they're assessing what are the opportunities, what are our priorities for the next year. And that goes back into just kind of being around when it's kind of boring and slow. That's when you can really have your conversation, preparing for things in the long term. But the Citizens Guide is great. Department of Budget has a great, very informative webpage when it comes to all the details, line items, where is funding going, really informing the public of what can be a very complicated process. And one more is the Governor's Office of Diversity and Inclusion. Great, very informative staff. They're supporting all types of advocacy efforts within government on behalf of like the general citizenry of New York State. I highly encourage you to sign up to their monthly newsletter. It includes information specifically related to diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility across multiple agencies in one big newsletter. Again, looking for advocacy, finding work in New York State, language access. Find out what your state is doing with this when it comes to DEIA efforts, when it comes to just lots of activities, and there is overlap with that because Department of Agriculture and Markets is involved with these conversations as well. And we're just going to wrap up here is government perspective of things, and this is so important. It's just knowing processes and timelines. So not to oversimplify it, when it comes to processes and why does it take so long with government, it is really knowing and appreciating that for decision-making on our end, we are considering everyone. And that means those that are for whatever you would like to do and those that might be against. It is everyone's tax money that we're working with. And we're making best efforts to provide, quality impact, long-term decision-making, and especially those long-term decisions that impact so many people will take time. On the positive, those things that do take time, and that's where timeliness comes into play. The more thoughtful we are on our end, it's harder to remove, that thoughtfully planned decision and well-funded, program or process. So that's why things take a bit of time, but we need to make sure that we are accurate in our efforts to move things forward, especially as we're advocating on behalf of like our farmland efforts, on behalf of like individual business operations, especially since farming is so distinct. Even like someone that is just general entrepreneur, if you're unfamiliar with distinct challenges with farming, you might make decisions that don't align with a farmer's perspective. So an example of that would be, the valuation of farmland. What does that look like? So we have conversations of that on our end to best advocate, for farmers in New York State. But yes, it is everyone's tax money. We're being very thoughtful of all stakeholders, and especially in the long term, not just the short term. So it's not just a matter of who's the first person that walks into our room, our office, and then sits in a chair and share. We cannot just automatically do a plan based on those specific needs. We have to plan for what are the rippling effects to those needs. And again, when it comes to the timeliness, though it might be a long term for the impact, and you seeing the results, that does not mean that we're not getting things done. If anything, especially if you're great about, circling back and checking in with whoever your contact is with New York State, especially New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets, I would say just because you don't see us doing anything, if anything, that could be exactly what it looks like when we're taking action. I can do that check-in email regularly, or you're attending those meetings and handling business to get some work done. So with government, just the general way to think about it, as fast as we can, as slow as we must. So we are moving forward, and we're stopped as best able. But if there is a window of opportunity, know that we are ready to move things forward, but we just need to time things with those opportunities as they present themselves. And with that, I leave it to any questions, comments that might have arisen. I know a lot has been thrown at you. Thank you for sticking with all of this information. They will find their way to the Diversity in Agriculture webpage on the website, including the slides for those of you that want access to those links. If you have additional questions, I encourage you, again, outreach at agriculture.ny.gov. You need to give it time for those responses, though, I implore you. And if you have something specific, it could be something with food safety. I'm looking to, start this business. It could be something with, animals. And like here, I'm concerned about something going on, in my neighborhood. I encourage you to go directly to those web pages and identify that contact at the bottom. Those are there for a reason, and will most likely get you a little faster response than you will if you go to that general outreach. So I'm going to check again if there are any inquiries for those that are attending. Okay. All right, so I'm not seeing anything in the chat. I want to thank you all. I greatly appreciate you attending. I hope this has been very useful for you. Again, these will be available on the main website. And yeah, the goal here is for just people to have a better understanding of what we're doing at the Department of Agriculture Markets when it comes to outreach, why we're doing it, and how they can better tap into it and navigate the resources that are available. Best efforts are always being made to better serve. So I encourage you to get involved into the process. And if you don't know how, you do have an email address to contact. Again, outreach@agriculture.ny.gov. And with that, we're just going to stop this and have a great evening. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye.